Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found to death in their home. LAPD has not confirmed those identities, but news does have a source confirming that it is Rob Reiner and his wife.
Rob Reiner, one of the most talented directors, left behind a lost final letter. But the truth wasn't revealed until after his body, together with that of his wife, was discovered lifeless in their home.
What the motive may have been, why this may have happened.
Maybe someone found them, maybe they survived and were able to dial 911. There's a lot of twists and turns that could happen here.
Small details finally began to stand out in ways they never had before, which left many fans shocked and even troubled. What could have led to the tragic end of one of Hollywood's most famous couples? Was there something the actor wanted the world to understand? Join us as we find out how this changes the way people now look at Rob Reiner's legacy. The tragic end of Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner was one of the most celebrated figures in American film and television for more than 5 decades. He worked as an actor, director, producer, and writer. Fans around the world knew him for his talents. But on December 14, 2025, his life ended in a tragic and shocking way. On that Sunday afternoon, Rob and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found lifeless inside their home in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles, California. Law enforcement has called their passing an apparent homicide. The day began like many others for the Reiner family. At about 3:30 p.m. local time, the Los Angeles Fire Department, LAFD, received a call to go to the Reiner's residence on South Chadbourne Avenue in Brentwood. Firefighters and paramedics were sent to provide medical aid after someone in the home reported an emergency. When first responders arrived, they found 2 people, Rob Reiner and his wife, deceased inside the home. The LAFD confirmed that both victims were 78 and 68 years old. Initial reports described their bodies as having injuries consistent with knife wounds. This suggested that it was not as a result of natural causes or an accident, but from violence. At that point, news outlets had reported the injuries and the involvement of knife-like lacerations, though authorities had not yet publicly released full details. Shortly after firefighters found the bodies, officers from the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, arrived at the scene. Because the circumstances appeared violent, the case was quickly treated as a potential murder investigation. Detectives from the LAPD's Robbery-Homicide Division were assigned to the case. They began gathering evidence and securing the property. As of the latest reports, no suspect had been officially identified by police, and no arrests had been made. The investigation was ongoing, and authorities were continuing to collect information. The news of Rob Reiner's and Michelle Singer Reiner's demise was confirmed by their family in a public statement. In that statement, the family expressed profound sorrow and asked for privacy during what they called an unbelievably difficult time. The statement did not include details about the cause of the tragedy, but it reflected the family's shock and grief over losing 2 people they loved deeply. As news spread, reporters and local residents watched as police remained at the scene. The LAPD maintained a heavy presence around the home while detectives worked. Officers were seen guarding the property and moving in and out of the house as they searched for clues. At this stage, officials had not released the identities of the victims, though media reports widely confirmed that the deceased were Rob and Michelle. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office was expected to conduct a full examination to determine the exact cause and manner of death. While initial reports indicated stab wounds, the official finding and details about how the violence unfolded would be part of the medical examiner's investigation. That process can take time, as it involves careful analysis of the bodies and the scene. Some early news reports also mentioned that it was a family member, reportedly their daughter, Romy, who discovered the bodies inside the home and contacted authorities. This detail added another layer of heartbreak, as it meant that a close family member was present at the scene of the discovery and had to face an unimaginable moment. These accounts came from sources familiar with the situation but have not yet been officially confirmed by police. At the time of reporting, investigators were still interviewing family members and people close to the Reiner family to piece together what exactly happened. The public was urged to allow law enforcement to continue their work without speculation. Meanwhile, the entertainment community and public figures quickly reacted to the news with shock and sadness. Officials such as Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass expressed deep sorrow at the loss of Reiner, calling it a devastating loss for the city and the country. This tragedy unfolded not long after Reiner continued to work in the industry. He had recently completed projects and was active in entertainment and public life. His demise, coming at the height of his legacy, reminded many people of both his creative achievements and his commitment to causes beyond Hollywood. Many fans and colleagues remembered Reiner's decades of work in both film and activism, celebrating his contributions to cinema and society. The investigation is still ongoing, and authorities have signaled that as more information became available, they would share it with the public. For now, the focus remained on understanding how and why such a violent act took place in the home of one of Hollywood's most respected figures. The couple's shared life made the sudden and violent nature of their ends even more shocking to those who knew them. To better understand why, let's take a look at Rob Reiner's personal life. A Heart in Love. Rob Reiner's life off-screen was rich, full of family, love, challenges, and deep personal connections. His personal life helped shape who he was as a man, and it influenced the stories he told in his films. While many people know him for his work in movies and television, the relationships and family he built were at the heart of his life. Reiner was married twice and became a father to 4 children. He learned from these relationships, and they left an enduring mark on him and his family. Rob's first marriage was to actress and director Penny Marshall. They met during the early years of their careers, when both were just beginning to make their way in Hollywood. In 1971, Rob and Penny married. At that time, Rob was already appearing on the hit television show All in the Family, and Penny was enjoying success on the popular sitcom Laverne and Shirley. Their marriage was a union of 2 creative spirits in an industry that was fast-moving and demanding. Penny Marshall already had a young daughter named Tracy Reiner from a previous marriage. When Rob and Penny wed, Rob adopted Tracy, becoming her legal father and raising her as his own daughter. Tracy would go on to become an actress herself, appearing in films like When Harry Met Sally, A League of Their Own, Apollo 13, and others. Throughout her life, Tracy spoke fondly of her upbringing in Hollywood, even though it was different from many other childhood experiences. The marriage between Rob and Penny lasted 10 years, from 1971 until 1978. They shared many experiences together during a vibrant decade in television and film history. However, as both of their careers grew, they found it difficult to stay together. Their busy schedules and the pressures of Hollywood life strained their relationship, and eventually they decided to go their separate ways. Despite their split, they stayed on friendly terms. After his divorce from Penny Marshall, Rob spent several years single. He focused on his career and eventually returned to directing films. During the making of When Harry Met Sally, in 1989, he met Michelle Singer, who worked as a photographer. Their meeting was significant for both his personal and professional life. In fact, Rob later said that meeting her influenced how he thought about love and romance, which played a part in changing the ending of that film. Rob and Michelle quickly formed a close bond as they discovered they had many shared values and goals. Their connection grew strong, and in that same year they met, they were married. Their marriage lasted for decades and was a central part of Rob's life. Michelle was not only his wife, but also a trusted partner and friend. She worked as a photographer and also had credits in film production. Over the years, the pair built a life together, grounded in family and mutual respect. Together, Rob and Michelle had 3 children. Their family grew with the birth of their first son, Jake Reiner, in 1991. Jake later worked in the entertainment world, often behind the scenes, and shared a close bond with his father through common interests like baseball. Their second son, Nick Reiner, was born in 1993 and faced challenges with addiction and homelessness throughout his life. Nick's struggles eventually inspired the semi-autobiographical film Being Charlie, which he co-wrote and his father directed. Finally, their youngest child, Romy Reiner, was born in 1997 and kept a relatively private life compared with her older siblings. She often joined her parents at public events and expressed a close and loving relationship with her father. Rob's children were a major part of his world. He talked about how being a father influenced his choices and how family life shaped his perspective. Though he rarely spoke about every aspect of his personal life in public, he often said that many of his films came from a place that was deeply influenced by his own experiences and relationships. For Rob, art and life were connected, and his family helped ground him in the real world while trying to meet the demands of Hollywood. However, before Rob found love, he had something going on already: fame. Rob Reiner was a man who spent almost his entire life in the world of movies and television. He was born on March 6, 1947, in the Bronx, New York. His parents were both in show business. His father, Carl Reiner, was a famous comedian, writer, and actor. His mother, Estelle Reiner, was an actress and singer. Growing up, Rob was surrounded by creative people and art. This early life in a family of performers helped shape his future in entertainment. As a young boy, Rob moved with his family from New York to Los Angeles. There, he went to school with other future performers. He studied at Beverly Hills High School, where he was classmates with people like Richard Dreyfuss and Albert Brooks. After high school, Rob went to the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. He studied film and tried out ideas in plays and improv groups. Even though he left college early, he had already begun to learn how to act and make stories come alive. In the 1960s, Rob began to appear in small roles on television. He showed up in episodes of shows like Batman, The Andy Griffith Show, and The Beverly Hillbillies. These early parts were small, but they helped him get familiar with working on TV sets. He also worked as a writer for a popular comedy show, The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, where he wrote scripts together with another young writer named Steve Martin. This writing helped him learn how humor and timing work in television. Rob's big breakthrough came in 1971, when he was cast as Michael "Meathead" Stivic on the CBS sitcom All in the Family. The show was created by Norman Lear and became one of the most watched television programs in the United States. Rob played the smart, liberal son-in-law of Archie Bunker, a gruff, older character who held many traditional views. For this role, Rob Reiner won 2 Emmy Awards and was nominated many times for both Emmys and Golden Globes. Even though Rob became well known as an actor, he soon wanted to do more. He wanted to tell stories in his own way and make his own movies. In the early 1980s, he turned his attention to directing for the first time. His first major work as a director was This Is Spinal Tap in 1984. Although it was not a huge hit when it first came out, it soon became a cult classic, with many people quoting its jokes and scenes for years afterward. After This Is Spinal Tap, Rob continued directing movies that showed his range and heart. One of his early successes was Stand By Me in 1986. a drama about four boys who go on an adventure to find the body of a missing boy. It was based on a story by Stephen King and became a favorite for both critics and audiences. In 1987, he directed The Princess Bride, a magical adventure full of romance, action, and humor. The movie became a classic and is still loved by many generations of viewers. Rob's next movie that people still talk about today was When Harry Met Sally in 1989. This romantic comedy starred Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. It showed a story of love that grew slowly over many years. The film became one of the most famous romantic comedies ever made. After that, Rob directed Misery in 1990, a tense psychological thriller based on another Stephen King story which showed a different side of his directing skills. In 1992, Rob directed A Few Good Men, a powerful courtroom drama. The film starred big names like Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. This movie became one of Rob's most successful films, earning nominations and praise from critics and audiences alike. Over the years, Rob continued directing films in many different genres. He also continued to act in films and on television, appearing in popular movies. Even late in his life, Rob kept working. In 2025, he directed and released Spinal Tap 2: The End Continues, a sequel to his 1984 mockumentary. This showed that even after decades in the business, he still had stories he wanted to share with the world. Unfortunately, his time was cut short, but not without leaving a mark behind. Building the next generation. Rob Reiner was not only a great filmmaker and actor, he was also a very active voice in public life. Over many years, he used his fame to stand up for many social and political causes. He believed that people in the arts could also shape change in the world. Reiner did not just make films, he worked hard to help others, speak up for people who had fewer rights, and influence public policy in important ways. His activism was a big part of his life, and it left a lasting impact on many issues in the United States. One of the main causes Reiner worked for was marriage equality. In 2008, he helped start the American Foundation for Equal Rights, AFER, an organization that played a major role in fighting against Proposition 8 in California, a law that banned same-gender marriage in the state. Reiner and others on the board took the issue all the way to federal court, which helped lead to same-gender marriage being recognized as a constitutional right across the United States. This was a huge win for LGBTQ+ rights, and Reiner's work with AFER helped lay the legal groundwork that protected people's civil rights. Reiner did more than just talk about equal rights. He used his celebrity and money to support real change. He often spoke at rallies, public events, and in interviews to promote fairness and opportunity for lesbian, gay, bi, and transgender people. In an era when these fights were highly controversial, Reiner put his own reputation on the line because he felt the issue was important. His courage helped put more attention on equal rights and inspired others in Hollywood and beyond to speak up. Another major area where Reiner focused his energy was early childhood education and health. In 1997, Reiner and his wife Michelle founded the I Am Your Child Foundation, which later became Parents Action for Children. This nonprofit aimed to educate parents and the public about the importance of early childhood and to support good public policy that benefits families and kids. Through this foundation, they produced widely distributed educational materials, including videos in English and Spanish. These resources were given to new parents in California to help them understand how to care for and nurture their children during their most formative years. Reiner's work in early childhood advocacy also included public outreach and campaigns. He worked with other parents, educators, and elected leaders to teach families about how critical a child's early development is. He helped produce national television specials and public service announcements that explained why children need strong emotional, educational, and health support in their first years. He wanted parents and caregivers to have tools that could help children grow up healthier and more prepared for school and life. In 1998, he chaired a campaign for California Proposition 10, which created a tax on tobacco products to fund early childhood programs. The tax raised hundreds of millions of dollars to support health, education, and social services for children from birth to age 5. After the measure passed, Reiner became the first chairman of First 5 California, the state agency created to run these programs. From 1999 to 2006, he oversaw how the funds were used to help families and young children get a better start in life. Reiner also cared about public health. He often spoke out against tobacco use, warning that it hurts children and communities. His work with the Tobacco Tax Initiative was partly designed to reduce smoking and help pay for positive programs for children. In this way, he combined policy change with better health outcomes for families. His advocacy even caught attention in pop culture. He was satirized in a South Park episode because of how strongly he pushed anti-smoking messages. Besides education and health, Reiner took stands on environmental issues. He played an important role in protecting the Ahmanson Ranch in California from being turned into commercial real estate. Instead, the land was preserved as a state park and wildlife refuge. This effort showed that Reiner cared not just about people, but also about protecting nature and green spaces for future generations. Reiner also engaged in broader political activism. He often supported Democratic candidates and progressive causes. On issues such as climate change, healthcare, and social justice, he used speeches, public letters, and media to voice his opinions. At times, he faced criticism for speaking out, but he continued because he believed it was important for artists to participate in civic life. He even talked publicly about the importance of clean energy, social responsibility, and corporate accountability. Reiner's activism was not limited to charities and nonprofit boards. He was willing to jump into heated political debates. For example, he publicly criticized policies and presidents he disagreed with, including commenting on national leaders and calling for unity, fairness, human dignity. Although not everyone agreed with his politics, he consistently used his voice to defend issues he believed in. Even as he aged, Reiner stayed committed to these causes. His later years saw him using social media and video messages to urge young people to participate in democracy and protect civil rights for all. He believed that activism was not something that ended with age. It was a lifelong responsibility. His activism was not always easy, but it showed that deeply he cared. Many people remember him not just for his films, but for the meaningful changes he helped bring about in society. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.